fewer touched than Melvin Gordon on the season and has outtouched him 27-24 on the ground, so we're making progress. The Broncos have also been in favorable game scripts through the first 2 weeks, but Week 3's home matchup against the Jets might be their best one yet. So far, the Jets have a bottom 6 run defense grade on PFF and are 26 in run DVOA on Football Outsiders. And Zach Wilson has been so bad under center in New York that the Denver offense should dominate both time of possession and have favorable field position throughout. While Williams hasn't been wildly impressive to kick off his NFL career, you likely drafted him in the 7th or 8th round, which at worst would have made him a flex play in 12-team leagues. I hadn't been on tent in starting Williams yet at all this season, but this is the week to plug him in as a flex play and let the Jets do their thing for him. Both Williams and Gordon have 4 carries in the red zone this season, but the former is the only one with a carry inside the 10. There's a lot to like in Week 3 for the young rookie running back. Mike Williams has been spectacular through the first 2 weeks, leading the Chargers in receptions, targets, and touchdowns. Actually, Williams' 2 touchdown receptions are the only ones Justin Herbert has thrown this year. Williams has a 25% target share too, which is extremely encouraging given the Chargers offense has yet to exhibit that same explosiveness we saw with Herbert under center in 2020. That outburst could happen on Sunday, though, when they take on the Chiefs, who score points in bunches and almost always force their opponents to throw. Interestingly, Herbert's pass volume is limited in 2 meetings with the Kansas City Chiefs last year, but a lot of that has to do with his efficiency, averaging nearly 10 yards per attempt and eclipsing 300 yards in both of those games. Still, this game boasts a slate-high 55.5-point total, and the Chargers are 6.5-point road dogs. Given Williams' huge early involvement in the offense, and more importantly, his team-leading 3 targets inside the 10-yard line, you'd be crazy not to start him everywhere you have him in Sunday's divisional showdown. Tyson Williams and Marquise Brown both make for great starts this week against the putrid Lions defense. I'd say this first, though. Don't get ahead of yourself with either of these guys. You aren't starting them over your studs. But if you have either of them on your roster and need to fill the flex or the wide receiver 3 spot, you are in great shape. We already know there's a timeshare in Baltimore, but Williams has been the most efficient back between him and Latavius Murray, and I'm not buying into Devonta Freeman carving out a big role quite yet. Williams is also the only running back in Baltimore to see a single target in the passing game between the 3, hauling in 5 of his 6 looks through the first 2 weeks. He's run 29 routes in 2 weeks compared to none for Murray or Freeman. The Lions have also allowed 76 points across their first 2 games and have been carved up on the ground and through the air, which is exactly why Marquise Brown needs to be in our lineups this week too. He has actually looked like a wide receiver 1, which is surprising, and is the top option in Baltimore right now, right ahead of Sammy Watkins. But what makes Brown special, assuming he continues to draw these high target totals, is his ability to break off huge plays. He has 30% of the Ravens' air yards so far, leads them in targets, yards, and touchdowns, and has hauled in 75% of the passes thrown his way. Detroit's pass defense grades out dead last on both PFF and Football Outsiders, allowing 10.8 yards per attempt and a ridiculous 148 passer rating. What's crazy, though, is their offense has actually been serviceable, which has created some amazing game environments. There's no doubt both Williams and Brown can excel in what is arguably the best all-around matchup in the NFL right now. Matthew Stafford's connection with Cooper Kupp has been undeniable to start the season, as Kupp leads all receivers in fantasy points through the first 2 weeks and has been utilized all over the field, including deep routes. His play has made it easy for people to forget about, or better yet, worry about Robert Woods and Tyler Higbee. But there's no way I'm sitting these guys in Week 3 against the Bucs, where the game has a 55.5-point total. The Rams are only 1 point.
All right. Good morning. Welcome into the Awesemo Fantasy Football Show. Myself, Nick Lepre here, and we know that you've been chomping at the bit already with your start or sit questions for the show, for Nick specifically. So we're going to get to them. We'll probably pepper them throughout, just so that there's not some long laundry list to get to at the end of the show here. But Nick, my man, as we are back and we have a jam-packed show, as always, leading up to lock today. Tons of injuries, tons of inactives, tons of actives. It's just everywhere right now, from bodies that are in to bodies that are out. We were trying to just comprehend it all before the show with Chris, who's producing this morning.
Yeah, definitely. Today has been a wild ride thus far with all these actives, inactives. Should be a fun time as we lead up to the other inactives that are eventually bound to happen later, where we think players are going to play. Yeah, I got a bunch of questions earlier today about all these players, who I think is going to play, who I think is going to sit. So it's good to know that at least the NFL gives us the inactives, at least for the 1 o'clock games.
At least that we know, and we'll definitely just continue to get questions peppered throughout and answer them for sure. But looking at a couple of the big ones, we know Carson Wentz, for example, the quarterback spot. Your guys out in Vegas, my play aside, your guys out in Vegas, uphill battle without Tua there. We knew Andy Dalton was out, enter Justin Fields. But as far as one that we got a little bit earlier, Carson Wentz is a go out in Indianapolis. I don't know, man. Two banged up ankles on a guy who's not really trustable in its own right. Any interest there?
Yeah, not even the slightest of interest. I mean, I think he's only playing because it came out that they just don't like Jacob Eason, that they just don't trust him. But I don't know why you would do this, to be honest with you. How do you hurt both of your ankles? I don't understand that. And then how do they reasonably let you play 7 days later after doing that? I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, if there's any starter sit here, like, where do you have Wentz ranked? Because I can't imagine that there would be many options in a 1 quarterback league where you would go Wentz over the other option, right?
Yeah, he's a bottom of the barrel start. I didn't even expect him to start, so I don't even think he was in my rankings. I think Eason was. I don't know. There's like, maybe I'd play him over like Zach Wilson, because that guy's just a turnover machine at this point. But I mean, maybe I would start Zach Wilson over him, because there's a chance that Carson Wentz just gets hurt again. I don't understand why he's playing. So
no, it makes very little sense. Just to kind of bounce around, I know that we looked at some other key spots, like Deontay Johnson, for example, doesn't look to be played, but Dalvin Cook really is the big one here.
Yeah.
And let's look at Dalvin just from the trickle-down effect, because we know at least that he hasn't been ruled out as of yet. Even if he's out there, as you were saying before the show, it doesn't really look like he's trending in an upward direction. So what do you do? I mean, you pretty much have to roster him, right? Unless he's been ruled out.
yeah, with Dalvin Cook, I don't know. I don't think you can play him, though, if he doesn't play. Like, if Dalvin Cook doesn't play, I don't think you can play him. But if Alexander Mattison is the guy, you definitely have to play him. But the problem is there's going to be a laundry list of players ahead of Alexander Mattison that I would play. So it's not ultra decisive, in my opinion. Whereas originally a lot of people would think, hey, when Dalvin Cook goes down, Alexander Mattison is an insta start, because Alexander Mattison is talented. But to me, Alexander Mattison hasn't proved much in his career thus far when Dalvin Cook is hurt to be 100% certain that, hey, this is a plug and play top 12 running back. Whereas in situations where if Zeke was to go down, you would probably be 100% confident that Tony Pollard was the guy.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think what happens now is people are going to look at their bench where Dalvin Cook is banged up, assuming that Dalvin's not going to play. And that's going to open up the start sit. That's going to open up 2 guys who have a much more narrow gap right between them than Cook and anybody else on the team, for that matter.
Yeah, definitely. This injury doesn't really affect anything, in my opinion, when it comes to all the receivers on the team or Kirk Cousins. Because I think, again, I don't think Alexander Mattison perfectly fills the role of Dalvin Cook, but he's also like a perfectly serviceable running back, whereas things aren't going to go completely sour if he's in the lineup.
What about Cousins, though? I wonder if they overcompensate. It's not like he doesn't have 2 competent guys he can 3, KJ Osborn, right? 3 guys that he can throw to. So I wonder if the game plan is ramped up a little bit more, or even if there's just this natural sense to overcompensate. So instead of looking at it, as we said, from the Dalvin Cook thing, which has more of a trickle-down effect, what about from Kirk Cousins' standpoint? If maybe Cousins is a start-sit option for people thinking, maybe he does just throw 10 to 15 times more as a result of not having Cook.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is entirely possible. Now, they do go up against Seattle this week. I'm surprised the spread is as close as it is. Minnesota is just losing games left and right at this point. They missed the kick last week in typical Vikings fashion, but Kirk Cousins has been legitimately good for fantasy football, which is a big surprise to me. This offense is loaded. KJ Osborn's a guy I've never even heard about, and this man is amazing. He's amazing. He's really good. Justin Jefferson obviously hasn't been playing all that great, but he's still a very legitimate option. Adam Thielen too. So Kirk Cousins, there's a chance that he easily finishes inside the top 10 this week. I have him ranked outside the top 12, but that's just because the quarterback matchups this week are just so favorable for a lot of these quarterbacks, guys like Teddy Bridgewater who get the Jets, and there's just so many great matchups. But at the end of the day, I'm still very confident in Kirk Cousins. And I think we should be for the long haul, even when Dalvin Cook is healthy, because Kirk Cousins has been performing well despite having Cook there, who sucks up a lot of the opportunity of Kirk Cousins because they run the ball a lot.
Right. So exactly, especially as you mentioned, who they have there behind it not being an auto flex right to Mattison by all means. Everybody in here, we got numbers piling, more people coming in, a lot from your stream. So thanks to Nick for that. And hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell as well, so you're not late. I know people have things to do. It's busy and hectic, but you want to be here right at the start. So when we get to things right that trickle down from information, injury news, and also any starter sits that we'll hit to as well, take advantage of our deal that we have with Yahoo, please. I mean, they're providing this, and we're giving you back 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum with your first deposit and first paid contest entry. That's a ridiculous value, like $90+ a month for free. 2 free months of that Awesemo Plus Platinum. So new Yahoo user, you should be playing Yahoo as is. Take advantage of this offer that we have for you, and you can win some money courtesy of us. Thank Nick for bringing you here to the stream. Sign up, subscribe. It's all reciprocated, brother, right? Like, we're helping people. They're helping us. It's all a part of it.
Exactly. It's a nice chain of helping each other here. Thank you guys all for coming out today. Hopefully everyone has a great time, and we're going to have some fun for the next hour before lock.
All right, half PPR, Ruggs, Cephas, or Osborn. Speaking of Osborn here, we'll get into some questions real quick, some starter sits for you as we continue to do some injury news as well.
All right, so Ruggs, Cephas, or Osborn. Cephas has scored a touchdown in both of his games thus far this season. Ruggs has looked very good. The biggest issue with Ruggs is he's going up against the Dolphins defense, but something I also can see happening is the Dolphins what happened last week is the Dolphins defense looks amazing against Josh Allen, and then Tua gets hurt, and then it's 14-0 at half, whatever it was. Then the defense just gives up, and then boom, the offense just goes off for the Bills. So I think that could also happen with Ruggs. I would lean Ruggs over that grouping. I like Osborn a decent amount. I like Cephas a decent amount, but Osborn has also just been on fire up to this point, and I typically don't look to stray away from a guy who's on a hot streak, so I'll keep on playing Osborn at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think he's a great DFS play for sure. And then if you have an opportunity here in your season long to insert him, why not ride this wave? I don't know how sustainable it is with 2 other guys above him, but to your point about how much, as we talked earlier, Cousins will throw the ball, especially now. I mean, I would feel his value, Osborn's value, probably grows exponentially without Dalvin Cook on the field, right?
Yeah, you would think. I don't think they're going to rush the ball as much with Alexander Mattison as the back. I still think it's not like they're going to just completely go away from the rushing attack, but yeah, that definitely would help out a guy like Osborn this week, who has been performing surprisingly well for, like I said earlier, a guy I've never heard about until this season.
Angelo on the chat, Tannehill or Daniel Jones?
Oh, that's a tough one. See, the thing with Daniel Jones is I think basically every single person, me, probably you, are all in favor of Daniel Jones this week. Everyone thinks the Giants are going to roll the Atlanta Falcons. And when it seems like everyone is on that same standpoint, that it never works when the public is all together on the same pick, but I'm still taking Daniel Jones. The man might be the leading rusher on the team yet again. He was last week up against the football team. Despite the fact that they don't know how to use Kenny Golladay, it's the Sterling Shepard's in the perfect situation. They throw the ball a lot because they don't try to commit to the run with Saquon Barkley. So I'm a big fan of Daniel Jones this week, and wouldn't be surprised if he was a top 5 quarterback, maybe even top 3 quarterback on the week.
Wow. Well, look, we got word, right, that Kenny Golladay is active. So between him, Slayton, Shepard, this offense is, and even with Saquon Barkley, 10 days rest, he got more work last time out. So everything seems to be trending upwards. Here's another thing, too. The Atlanta Falcons defense is the worst defense in the NFL. I don't even think I'm being like exaggerating at that point. I saw Jalen Hurts carve him up. Daniel Jones could put up an 80-yard run at any point. I'm with you. I think the ability for Tannehill to get downfield is something. I don't want to negate that by any means, but I think you make a great point just about how much Jones can get you points on the ground. And then this offense is coming around on them. Look, they're not going to win the division, but they're at least trending upwards, Nick.
Yeah, and something to note about Tannehill too. Just because we're talking about starting Daniel Jones over Tannehill doesn't mean that you guys need to like run away from Tannehill, because I've seen a lot of people talking about that. He didn't score last week. He threw for, I believe it was like some crazy amount of yards, but Derrick Henry scored all the touchdowns. So don't run away from Tannehill just yet. But I like Daniel Jones a lot this week, and there's going to be probably a bunch of questions about Daniel Jones, where I'd rather start Daniel Jones over a quarterback that you would probably perceive that you would start the other one normally.
Except Carson Wentz. We know that that's a lock. Anybody who gets brought up is going to be start over Carson Wentz.
Definitely,
there's no margin of error for there. All right. Basketball knowledge on the super chat. Appreciate this. Ayuk, Sermon, Singletary, McKissick, Gainwell. Start 3, 1 running back, 2 flex, full P. Now, look, it's a super chat, so we appreciate that. Basketball knowledge throwing some cash, some cold, hard cash our way. Really maximizing your work here, like really putting you to work here, Nick, with this super chat. A regular question like this wouldn't get answered at the top because it requires so much time and energy to answer one. But when the super chat comes out, hey, that's what we do.
Exactly. We got to answer this question. So the thing with McKissick is that I don't really know what Ron Rivera is doing. In week number 1, McKissick is literally irrelevant. All of last year, I believe he had 110 targets. So he was very heavily used on third down. In week 1, he's useless. In week number 2, he's amazing. So what are we supposed to think about this situation? With Ayuk, I'm definitely not starting Ayuk. I think he's still in the doghouse there. I do not trust him at all. So your running back that you're going to need to start here is Trey Sermon. And then after that, I would probably go with McKissick, and I would go with Singletary. Now, Singletary, you're basically just hoping that he scores the touchdown up against the Washington football team over Zach Moss, but it is entirely possible. Singletary has looked like a completely different running back from this year compared to last year. So I'm in favor of Singletary this week. So I would go with Sermon. Definitely. I think Sermon, whenever you get the starting running back of the San Francisco 49ers, you basically just have to start them based upon the upside that they could be top 10 on the week. So I'm going Sermon, I'm going Singletary, and I'm going with JD McKissick. Even though JD McKissick to me is very volatile, very risky right now, I'm still going to play him over Gainwell. So we're going to go with McKissick, Singletary, and Sermon.
Yeah, I agree, man. Gainwell is a sneaky play if you don't have options like those other 3.
Yeah.
Ayuk, I think you just can't touch Ayuk right now. Like, I don't even know when this changes. Here's the thing. You're right. The doghouse is the best definition for it. How do you get out of the doghouse if you're not allowed to give an opportunity to show you're out of the doghouse?
I have no idea. I think, what did he get, 1 target last week, and then he's just doing nothing? I don't understand. Maybe he has to just show up and practice and play like Randy Moss or something out there to get some work. I don't understand it at all, but I think he'll eventually escape the doghouse. Just don't start him until he does so.
Nick Solano on the super chat. If Cook is out, half PPR flex spot. Connor, Ayuk, we already know. I'm just going to take Ayuk off this, all right, to make it easier for you. So if Cook is out, we're talking a half PPR flex spot. Connor, Murray, or pick up Ruggs?
All right. That's a great question. Connor, I really thought was going to be the lead running back in Arizona. I never believed in Chase Edmonds, but Edmonds is clearly the guy. Murray, he is behind Tyson Williams. Even though Murray did look pretty good, it seems like they're really locked in with Tyson Williams being the guy, unless, of course, he was to make some terrible mistake, then they'll play Murray. I would lean with Ruggs. Now, Ruggs is a very high upside play. There's a lot of risk that comes with him, right? Because whether it's Xavier Howard, whether it is Byron Jones on the Dolphins, those are 2 of the best DBs in the NFL. But Ruggs is so fast. Ruggs has that game-breaking potential, right? Where he could just catch the ball 3 times, get 125 yards and 2 total touchdowns. So I'm going with Henry Ruggs very confidently over Connor, Ayuk, and Murray. I just don't think you can play Ayuk like I was talking about. Connor, I just don't like him anywhere near as much as I like Ruggs. Same thing goes with Latavius Murray. So Ruggs would be my answer very definitively.
Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're also subscribed here to the Awesemo Fantasy Football channels. We'll lead you up to lock and have a ton of questions that we'll get to. And again, for new Yahoo users, you can get 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum with your first deposit and paid contest entry. Link is there, as you'll see in the description of the video. Awesome opportunity to not only sign up as a first-time Yahoo user and take advantage of a ton of easier contests by all means, but you can use our metrics and everything that we have, our data alongside, and really get a sharp edge. 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. All right, I saw this one just because I think a lot of people are in this situation by all means. Randy on the chat, I think, speaks for a lot of people. Hi, Nick. CMC died for me. Need a big game from the flex spot. We need to be risky here. Waddle, Gaskin, Smitty, or Kendrick Osborn in the flex?
Oh, wow. That is a deep question. And yeah, I feel bad for everyone who has Christian McCaffrey. I mean, it happened last year. There was no way in my head that it was going to happen again, and it does. So let's see here. I would go with probably, oh man, that's a tough question. I don't trust Waddle because I don't know what's going to happen there with Will Fuller injected into this offense. He could easily be, in my opinion, the lead guy there, but Parker could be as well. We just don't really know. So I would probably just lean with Gaskin. Again, I know it's not like the super high upside option. You know what? Actually, I'm second guessing myself. We're going with Kendrick Osborn, baby. KJ Osborn of the Vikings.
KJ? Okay.
Yeah, that's his name. Is his name Kendrick? Is it KJ? I don't know. Maybe he goes by both. Maybe his real name's Kendrick. He goes by KJ. Whatever it is.
That's what it is.
He's an elite fellow. I like this guy. We're going to go ahead and play him this week very heavily over the rest of those guys. Again, I think Gaskin's fine, but if the Raiders are just destroying the Dolphins, then what are we meant to do? We're just going to throw the ball.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about the quarterback situation there and then whatever impact it will have, the ripple effect. A couple of super chats, though, before that. Alex Korth with the super chat. Mattison or Julio? And we will talk Hopkins' concerns after that as he's active, but we'll see how far Nick wants to push his concern level for D-Hop in that game with the ribs. Let's start with the first of two from Alex. Mattison or Julio?
Mattison or Julio? Great question. Now, I don't know if I just maybe bad at seeing, but I don't know how Julio Jones didn't score last week, if I'm being honest with you. I was 100% sure that he was in. I think the fix is in, to be honest with you, with the NFL, but that's okay. Alexander Mattison, he's a great start this week, but not over Julio Jones. I really do like Julio Jones this week. I like this matchup for the Titans going up against the Colts. The Colts defense on paper going into the season, everyone likes them, but looking at it now, it's like they don't seem like that elite of a defense. I think Julio Jones should have no problem there. So I'm leaning with Julio. And then with DeAndre Hopkins, I read a lot on Twitter from these fantasy doctors. They talk a lot about this stuff. No one seems to be worried at all about Hopkins. Nothing I've read seems to concern me about Hopkins. So I'm firing him up with 100% confidence that he's going to be fine. Now, he won't be necessarily 100%, but Hopkins has played 90%, 95% a bunch of times, and he's always one of the best receivers in the NFL regardless. He was good on Houston. He's great in Arizona. So go ahead and fire him up this week. Don't be concerned at all about Hopkins. You don't want to be second guessing yourself. So just lock him in your line.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect opportunity for Arizona to be in a letdown scenario, kind of like in a malaise maybe for the first half of this game. And then all of a sudden just ramp up just to get the win and get the hell out of Jacksonville. And we know as long as DeAndre Hopkins is on the field, he's going to get targets. Like he could be more injured than Carson Wentz right now, and he'd be a better play, arguably at quarterback than Wentz, but just a better play overall, right? So look at this. Super chats are coming in left and right. This must be the Nick Lepre influence right here. Yeah, Joe Durbin on the super chat. Oh, wait. Yes. Real quick. Before that, I just wanted to mention. Oh, that was the one. Sorry. Joe Durbin can only start 2. Najee Harris, David Montgomery, and Trey Sermon.
Oh, okay. So Najee Harris for sure is going into the lineup here. I like Najee Harris a ton. This week, he gets the Bengals. That is a very soft draw for him. He should be very, very well, or not be very, very well. Should play very, very good in this game. And then Montgomery or Trey Sermon is where it starts to get dicey. This is Justin Fields' first ever NFL start. And typically, I'm not someone who is super excited to play players on a team when it's their first ever start. Now, again, Justin Fields is far superior to Andy Dalton, so that shouldn't really affect my opinion, but it is going up against the Cleveland Browns. So my lean would be to play David Montgomery, though. David Montgomery looks good up against the Rams defense. Wasn't ultra effective last week, but again, he's not really going to destroy your lineup. So I think Najee Harris is a very strong start this week. And then out of Sermon and Montgomery, I would lean with Montgomery this week.
Yeah, it's like you can't quit Harris no matter how bad that Steelers offensive line is, especially at opening up holes, because there's nobody else that's going to touch the football.
Yeah, you have to continue to keep playing Najee Harris. I mean, I don't even think in either of the games they've played thus far that a single running back on the team besides Harris has touched the ball. And Deontay Johnson is out, which would make you think that Najee Harris will be even more involved, considering Deontay Johnson, for some reason, is Big Ben's favorite target.
Now, I saw Overcome as one of the first on the chat, definitely pounding, saying, I'm here for Nick, coming out with the super chat. Josh Gordon. Now, are you looking at Gordon at all in a waiver wire scenario, or is that just a chance to just recognize somebody on the super chat and say thanks?
Josh Gordon, that guy's a legend, but it depends. What team is he on when he gets reinstated? Like, what team do they throw on? Is he on Seattle? That's the last team he was on.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I don't think he's still under contract. I think he's technically available, right?
Yeah, well, if you're in a deeper league, I mean, I'd pick up Josh Gordon because he is still, like, surprisingly, even though he always gets suspended, he still comes back and looks like a solid receiver. I definitely wouldn't pick him up unless you're in like a 16-team league or something, but that will be something interesting to follow, as I feel like almost everyone who plays fantasy really likes Josh Gordon.
He was on the Fan Control Football Squad, the Zappers. So I don't know if there's any film.
No, there was. I watched that. That was with Johnny Football. I actually watched that. Yeah.
Did you bet on it too?
I don't know if you could bet on it. I know I watched it one time because it was on like super late at night, and I think Marshawn Lynch was doing the commentating of the game.
Oh, that's amazing. Are you serious?
No, I'm completely serious.
Tell me, was Gordon out there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he scored in one of the games. He was playing pretty good, and then he left. I don't know.
He just quit like the kid from Ohio State and said, screw this, I'm out of here.
Yeah, like Vontae Davis. Yeah.
Yes. just out. Yeah. Oscar Rhodes on the super chat. Pick one. Cephas. Oh, this is a good one here. Cephas, Slayton, or Fuller, and it's a half PPR volume.
Oh man, Slayton can't catch anything. Can't catch a break. Can't catch a football. Can't do anything. That guy dropped the ball right at the end of the game. Now that was kind of not the best throw by Daniel Jones, but it is what it is. Slayton should have caught that ball. Fuller, I don't trust him very much at all this week. I think for the future, once we see this game, once we see how Jacoby Brissett looks, once we see how this kind of the pecking order is at the receiver position, then next week I might come out here and tell you, hey, Will Fuller's great. Maybe I say, hey, you know what? Don't start Will Fuller. Jalen Waddle's clearly the guy. It really depends on what happens up against the Raiders. So my lean would be Cephas. Again, this is a tough matchup, though, for the Lions. This is far from ideal up against the Ravens, but he's the clear receiver one there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I played him in my captain spot last week. That was just the wrong play. Huge swing and a miss. Should not have done that. He was like $2,000 on DK or something, so that was a stupid move. I thought he'd be better. Was not. So it's very evident that Cephas is the guy. Roll him out because they're going to be behind up against the Ravens, and in that case, you're just going to sling the ball. And even if Jared Goff isn't that good, I mean, there's much worse quarterbacks than Jared Goff. So I think that Cephas should have a good game. And I think I keep pronouncing his name wrong, and I don't know why. I can't figure out what his name is because I was watching the Eli and the Peyton cast on ESPN, and they don't talk about any of the players' names. They just like, I don't know. It's still fun to watch, but they don't ever bring up the guy's name. So I have no idea how to say the guy's name. But Quintez.
Cephas? I think I must have mispronounced it as well.
I think it's.
All right, so.
Yeah, you can go. I was going to say, I think it's like Cephas or Cephas, one or the other.
Cephas.
Cephas.
Well, we said Cephas, so it's either Cephas or Cephas. We got it right. Half PPR. ZG on the super chat as they super chats keep rolling in. Osborn, Pascal, or Cephas.
All righty. Pascal. See, the thing is, I like Pascal, but I don't know how you could possibly trust Carson Wentz going out there. No. You might need a cane to stand up or something. I'm not playing that guy. So Pascal is going to be a sit for me, basically just based upon the fact that I don't trust Wentz this week. And then after that, it's Osborn or Cephas. To be honest, I like Osborn a lot, and I feel like maybe I'm falling into some type of a trap. But yeah, I'm going to play him over Mr. Quintez.
Yeah, that's a deep squad. Like, I'm just hoping that's scraping the bottom of the bench at that point, right? With Pascal and Cephas for the most part. Cephas. Now you got me going back and forth. You're going to make the call here. If we're going to go down on the ship, you're the one who's steering it. So what's his name?
I think his name is Quintez Cephas, but
Okay.
I don't know.
We're going to call him Q from now on. How about that?
Okay, yeah. Mr. Q.
Mr. Q. New life on the super chat. We appreciate everybody here. Hit that thumbs up. We don't ask for much. That thumbs up, smash away, and we'll continue to hit your start sits throughout. Let's see. New life. Half PPR. A lot of half PPR questions here. This is in the flex. Javonte Williams, Devontae Smith, Trey Sermon, or James Robinson. Pick one.
All right, great question. So James Robinson, Urban Meyer needs to be, I don't even know. Maybe we just I don't know what we need to do to Urban Meyer. That guy, he fucking sucks. Let's be honest. He has no idea. Fire him. Take out his kneecaps, do whatever it takes so that he can't coach on Sunday, because James Robinson doesn't get the correct usage that he deserves. Trevor Lawrence looks atrocious, even though he's good. I think Urban Meyer has just destroyed him early on in his career, but
already he's destroyed him.
Already. It's Adam Gase version 2. But yeah, for me, Javonte Williams, I like him, but the problem is that Melvin Gordon's so involved. It's basically like a 50-50 split. They do get the Jets, but basically whichever one of those hops his way into the end zone will be the better start. So I'm just going to go with Trey Sermon. I understand that there's risk with Sermon, right? His first ever fucking play in the NFL, he fumbled and he got hurt. So that obviously is not great on tape, not great on the stat sheet either. But he is on the 49ers. The 49ers lead running back, always has the potential to be a top 12 guy. I understand it's risky, but so are all the players that were listed by Mr. New Life himself or Mrs. New Life. So my lean would be Trey Sermon, though.
Over Devontae Smith. I'm surprised about that. I think he's going to get a lot of volume this week because he disappeared last week. So there's a bounce back to it. But you like Sermon over Smith?
Definitely. But I do think Devontae Smith will bounce back. Somehow Quez Watkins played really good last week. I don't see that happening again.
Well, one catch. That was all that Quez got.
Yeah, that's true. And Reagor should also be pretty involved on this team, but I definitely like Trey Sermon more.
Okay. Just checking, man. Just checking. You know, it's my guy. So I want to make sure he's properly repped here on the program. And Smith, we got all these Dolphins questions for you. I think they're just loaded up so that you could talk about your squad. No, we should talk about what happens here with Tua as well. This was also on the super chat, though, real quick. Crack-a-man, either of us going D Carr over D Jones?
All right, that's a good question. Mr. Crack-a-man. Crack-a-man is a notorious commenter on my channel. I love that guy.
Love that. We appreciate that.
So Derek Carr, yeah, we appreciate this a ton. So Derek Carr or Daniel Jones. See, Derek Carr is on fire, but I don't think I would play him over Daniel Jones. But again, it does feel like a trap with Daniel Jones. This screams of a trap game where everyone, me, basically the whole world is on this guy and he ends up failing us. But I am going to lean Daniel Jones pretty heavily over Derek Carr. I have Daniel Jones ranked inside the top 10. Carr's more of like a top 17-ish quarterback on the week. That doesn't mean that he's bad, but the Dolphins defense is legit. So
yeah, see, there's something about that game. I know you saw that play that I had there, that long play, but all week the line has been moving in favor of the Raiders, despite Tua being out. The money, all of the public money on the Raiders. There's just something about this game that I don't trust a blowout. So if it's going to be close, then wouldn't it stand to reason that it would be Miami's defense keeping it close as opposed to this Dolphins offense that's man down at QB, keeping up in some sort of shootout? That's why I would stay. I don't know, something about that game, especially from the Raiders standpoint. And look, we talked about this earlier real quick with Jones. You have three guys like on his best day, you have three competent receivers that you can throw the football to that can present a deep threat as well. So it's not like Daniel Jones is throwing to statues out there.
Yeah, definitely.
It just sucks.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, he's just bad. It's not even that he sucks. It's that he doesn't know how to like control the ball. Like he just runs like an idiot and just fumbles all the time. Like, I don't know, but I think he's still a fine option, but there's always that worry that he ends up screwing you over.
Yeah, that's the thing you take into account. Whenever there's money associated with Daniel Jones, if it's a season-long DFS, if it's a player prop or any type of gameplay, if there's any type of cash associated with Daniel Jones, you are taking a significant risk. But it's one of these things where, like, you know, it's inherent going into it. Like, that dude could fumble at any given moment of the football game, get the ball back, and fumble again.
Yeah, and then run 99 yards into the end zone, and instead of running into the end zone, falling over like he did against the Eagles. Yeah.
Yes. All right, we got this awesome thing happening here. The Everybody Wins contest. It's our Awesemo Everybody Wins contest. It's on Yahoo. There's pretty much only 64 people in right now, so you better jump in before this thing really piles up. And this is easy. $10 to enter. You can pick players from all 13 games today. The top 815 share a $7,500 prize pool. That's ridiculous. So the top 815 in this Awesemo Everybody Wins contest is going to share a $7,500 prize pool, $200 to first place, $10 to enter. You can do the math, and it's guaranteed to run, even though it doesn't fill. But we want to make sure that you get in, especially since it's only at 64 or so right now. So in return, we don't ask for much. Just make sure you smash away on that thumbs up button. Tons of super chats here. Tanner Mead. All right. Now this is really pushing it here. We've talked so much about Daniel Jones. There's been so much positivity surrounding Daniel Jones. I think this is probably going to push it here. But Tanner Mead on the super chat, Prescott or Jones?
Oh, that's a good one. The thing with Prescott, he gets the Eagles. Now, your Eagles defense, it's not terrible, but I expect this to be a very high-scoring game between Hurts and Dak. And I mean, but last week we all thought that Dak versus Herbert was going to be like a shootout, when in reality it wasn't. So maybe we'll be wrong again, or I'll be wrong here again. But I'm going to lean with Prescott. I would find it very hard to sit Dak Prescott and play Daniel Jones.
Yeah, think about that. I'm laughing because you just said it out loud. And I'm like, wait, under what planet does that ever make sense, right? And I'm not ripping the chat because I think it's interesting that you look at the angle of it by all means, and it's not a bad question. But when you say it out loud about starting starting Daniel Jones over Dak Prescott, it doesn't sound right, is my point.
Yeah, it's definitely it feels just so risky. Like it's almost like a situation where you're going to beat yourself up. Like, oh man, like even if Dak outscores, or if DJ outscores Dak, then you're not going to be that mad, right? Because it probably won't be by that much. But if you bench Dak and he goes off up against Philly, you're going to be so pissed that you started Daniel Jones and he fumbles the ball like 4 times. So personally, just for your own sanity, you're going to just want to start Dak Prescott.
Yeah, look, you're in the Millie Maker. That's a different story, right? You need to counter significant ownership. That's one thing. But here, when you have the ability for both, and the thing about Prescott, it infuriated me as somebody who got clipped on the total last week in that Chargers-Cowboys game, as you referenced. I think, though, that for whatever reason, this McCarthy guy down there was trying to take advantage of some holes that they had, at least up front. The one thing that the Eagles defense has been doing consistently for the first 2 weeks is stopping the run. So I do think, to your point about Prescott, there are going to be a ton of avenues for him to throw the football. He should have a humongous night. Plus, it's the home opener, the first time he's playing since he got hurt. I mean, everything, right, towards that. Yeah,
in Jerry's world, you got to love it there.
Tanner Dow on the super chat, start 2. Mixon, T. Williams, Swift, half-point PPR.
Oh, that's a good one. Mixon, T. Williams, and Swift. I'm going Tyson Williams is my favorite play this week on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, all those things. I love Tyson Williams. I think he's priced anywhere from, I think, running back 14 or 15. I easily think he could finish inside the top 5 up against the Lions. Lions defense, we saw what Aaron Jones just did to them. Like Tyson Williams, maybe he's not going to score 4 touchdowns or how many touchdowns Aaron Jones scored, but he is a guy that has a lot of upside. And then Mixon going up against the Steelers, that's a tough matchup. But with Swift, you're really just hoping on the dump offs because they're going to be down to the Ravens. You would expect, right? You would expect the Ravens to be able to be all over them. So then you're hoping that Goff isn't taking these deep down the field shots and he's just safely dumping it to Swift a million times. And while that could entirely happen, that is definitely possible. I think that Mixon as well as Tyson Williams would be my answer.
Yeah, great question there. And it makes a lot of sense how you laid it out for sure. I do want to keep the super chats going. Vade on the super chat. We appreciate that. We appreciate everybody dropping some cash on us. Definitely not necessary, but we're grateful for it. Moore or Julio? Already have Sutton on the flex, half PPR.
All right, great question. I am very high on I guess it sounds like I'm very high on something else if I can't fucking talk right now. But Rondale Moore this week, I'm very high on Rondale Moore this week, but not as high as I am on Julio Jones. I love Julio Jones this week. Rondale Moore, Eventually it's not going to go his way one of these weeks, but you just can't fade that. That's the scenario where you just keep on riding the train. But I am going to go with Julio. I like Julio every single week. It seems like, well, I guess they called back his touchdown, but maybe he's not as allergic to the end zone in Tennessee as he was in Atlanta, where he would just scored like 4 touchdowns every year and that was it. Maybe he'll score more this year. I like Julio Jones a lot. I feel a lot safer with him over Rondale Moore. And I do like the matchup a lot as well. So my lean would be Julio. And Sutton's a great start, by the way, in his flex. I love Sutton this week up against the Jets. Judy going down, I thought that would really impact Sutton, and then it just didn't in week number 1. They threw the ball like Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler. But then last week, Sutton, I think, had like some crazy amount of yards. He was peppered with targets. I love Sutton this week too.
Yeah, that's not going to stop by all means. It's a good point there. And I'm sure he's going to pop up again throughout. Extension Gaming, last super chat we have on the board for now, Rondale Moore or Hollywood Brown, who also has a Q tag next to him. PPR, full PPR here.
All right. That is a good question because in past seasons, we would always talk about Hollywood Brown, and he's always super inconsistent, right? He has this big game, and then the next couple of weeks, the guy's just taking a nap in your lineup, putting up like 4 or 5 points, and then he pops off again, then you're like, oh, wow. Now he's on your bench, but you're like, wow, I should have started him. So then you start him the next week and he's sleeping again. But this week or this season so far, he hasn't been sleeping. He's been wide awake for every single game. He's been on fire. Rondale Moore also on fire. That is a very close decision. I would go with Hollywood Brown because of the matchup up against the Lions again. I think Lamar is going to destroy them. So that would be my lean, would be very heavily onto Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, I just wonder what's going on in Arizona, where if Rondale Moore has established himself enough to compete with the volume that you'll get with Brown when Brown's, to your point, awake and not asleep. Because when he's awake, he's a high volume or at least high productivity guy where, target-wise, he's going to get that. I feel like there are a couple of circumstances that still need to happen for Rondale Moore, who's a big play guy, but does that make sense? Like it's almost a parlay of circumstances for Moore to explode, as opposed to where Brown, if he's awake and there, not much to deal with.
Yeah, these are 2 receivers that are on great teams that aren't necessarily used in similar ways, but both have the option to be a big play guy. I mean, Rondale Moore is very, very fast, as is Hollywood Brown. The real thing is I just feel as though the matchup is much better for Hollywood Brown, where I could see the Ravens really pouring on the points there. So that's why my lean is Hollywood Brown, but it is very close. And I think we're going to continue to start talking a lot more about Rondale Moore every week as potentially like a top 24, 18 guy every week if he's able to keep this up.
Yeah, it's crazy because I was just looking at Schefter to see if anything had popped up, anything else. And here's Rondale Moore trending. A couple of guys we were just talking about trending right now. And I think that there is a major belief, at least James Robinson was another who came up, that this is going to be a game for Moore. I don't know. I'm also just cautious whenever you see such a big, and it's not even from a spread standpoint, but just a heavily believed favorite on the road against a dog shit football team like Jacksonville. And everybody expects 52-6. And it's like, maybe not. I mean, this may be one of these 20-7 games where Arizona just wants to get the W and just get out. And that's going to take a hit, I think, for everybody except for probably Murray and Hopkins.
Yeah, probably. And that is a really good point. But that point could also be said about the Ravens of just running the ball a million times and then you're out of there against the Lions.
But doesn't that bode also better for what you were saying about your plays with both quarterback and running back for Baltimore, that either way, they're going to be heavily involved in putting them up and most likely putting the game away?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very tough decision between those two, but I do like your argument about the Jags game because the Jags are genuinely terrible, especially with how Trevor Lawrence has been playing, whereas at least maybe Goff's able to maybe frighten the Ravens a little bit.
This one, I think, actually, it gets a little more interesting now with Dalvin Cook's situation, I should say, banged up. Sermon or Mattison overcome on the super chat, and we'll have a ton of regular ones as well. But look, we got to honor the super chat as we appreciate that. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and are subscribed, and we'll tell you about these awesome opportunities at Yahoo in just a sec. But before that, on the super chat, Nick, Sermon or Mattison?
Sermon or Mattison? That's a tough one. Those are both guys with a lot of upside. The thing is, I think Mattison is probably the safer bet, right? Because at least you know he's going to get touches, whereas Kyle Shanahan might just throw Trey Sermon out after like 3 plays, like, oh, this guy sucks, throw him out there, and then you start seeing Kerryon Johnson getting touches or something, which would make no sense, but you never know with Kyle Shanahan. The water boy might even touch the ball in this game. So I would probably play Sermon personally, but the safer bet is 100% Alexander Mattison. I'm more of a riskier kind of a player where I'm just looking to hunt for the upside. You're trying to win in fantasy. I'm not trying to come in like 3rd place. So I'm going as high as possible on these plays, going to try to shoot for the moon here. So that's why I like Trey Sermon, but Mattison is by far and away the much safer running back this week.
All right. So a bunch of questions people have had throughout, and I know Odell Beckham Jr. has popped up a bunch about starting him. So as we get back to the chat in a sec, look, take advantage of what we've been telling you with Yahoo. We'll tell you about OBJ in just a second here, but we have a couple of things. First, you can do 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum with your first deposit and paid contest entry. Just take full advantage of that. Honestly, you'll see the link there to hit, to follow, and look at what you get back, $10 in site credit. Now, the Awesemo Everybody Wins contest is the $10 entry. So you get the $10 site credit, you see the $10 entry, and a guaranteed payout for the Awesemo Everyone Wins contest. And this thing is insane because the top 815 are going to share a $7,500 prize pool with a $200 first place prize. So take advantage of this by all means. We're already giving you that $10 site credit. Odell Beckham, I feel like people have been waiting, right? A couple of weeks now. And are you going to ruin? This is their home opener. This is their homecoming. This is their season-long home opener. 2 weeks out without Beckham Jr. Are you going to ruin it for them and tell them to fade him and maybe play somebody else?
Yeah, probably, to be honest with you. I don't like Odell this week. I don't like Odell any week. I don't think the guy is in the correct situation in Cleveland. They just like to run the ball too much, where I do think Odell, obviously, there's going to be a bunch of players that maybe you could list off that Odell is a much better start than. So I'm not going to tell you that, hey, start Quintez Cephas over Odell Beckham Jr. or however the fuck we determined how to say that guy's name. So, yeah, obviously there's going to be certain scenarios where you want to start Odell, but it's just not a team that I expect to really look to just aggressively throw the ball 7,000 times to Odell, whereas there's a lot of other players where teams do that for them. So I think Odell Beckham Jr. is a fine player. I think he will play good in this game, probably. And my assumption would be that he plays well, but I also don't expect him to be like a top 10 guy, even without Jarvis Landry there.
Where did you rank him coming into this week about, like, as far as where you have your wide receivers? I imagine that as much as he's a concern, he's probably not second tier, at least, right?
No, I have him probably in like the 20s, which to you probably seems low. But yeah, I'm not someone who's super ambitious to start a guy coming right off the injury and in the situation that he's in. But again, someone could ask a question, Odell versus this player, and the answer is probably going to be Odell in a lot of the scenarios. So
Odell or Rondale Moore?
Rondale Moore.
KJ, Q. What about Q?
Oh, Q?
Not Cephas. I was going to go Osborn, but I already know the answer because you and I love Osborn this week. What about our buddy Q?
Oh, I'm definitely playing Odell over Mr. Q. Mr. Quintez.
I just wanted to find the floor, and then we can build up from that with Beckham by all means. Joey K on the chat. We appreciate that. My bad, Nick. Missed you earlier, but look, you're here now, Joe, so we appreciate that. And then 10 times over with the super chat. Pick 2 in the PPR: James Robinson, Rondale Moore, Corey Davis, Devontae Smith.
Great question, Mr.
Full
Joe.
PPR here.
All right. So James Robinson, Rondale Moore, Corey Davis, and Devontae Smith. Now, Corey Davis seemed like a genius start last week, right? Basically, everyone was on Corey Davis. And then, I don't know, like it seemed like the guy was seeing ghosts out there, Sam Darnold style. They even asked him if he was seeing ghosts in the game, and he said that he wasn't, which I thought was pretty funny. But I don't like Corey Davis this week. I don't trust him. I don't trust any of these players on the Jets. Doesn't matter what defense they're playing. You can't trust them. This week, they have a tough matchup up against the Broncos. So you definitely, in my opinion, cannot trust them. So my answer would be Rondale Moore very heavily in my lineup. And then it's a coin flip between Robinson and Smith. And the answer would be Smith for me. James Robinson, I just feel bad for the guy like I was talking about earlier. It seems like Urban Meyer doesn't understand how to use the guy at all. Even Doug Doug Marrone last year just knew, hey, just run the ball and maybe you can move the ball. And that's exactly how they did it. They don't do that this year in Jacksonville. It sucks, but it is what it is. He loves his boy Carlos Hyde. So we're going to go with Rondale Moore and Devontae Smith very heavily over the other options.
You mentioned Hyde, and I wonder, I mean, this is deeper leagues we're talking about, but how much does he have just because he's the coach's guy's guy now? How much does he have any increased advantage, again, as far as a deeper play, if people were looking at Hyde this week?
Yeah, I would not necessarily ever look towards playing Hyde, but the problem is that he just cuts in enough work to where it really screws over James Robinson, but it's not enough to where you're like, oh, wow, I need to start Carlos Hyde. But if you are in a deeper league, the problem is, though, the matchup this week, they're playing up against the Arizona Cardinals, and that is tough to run the ball on them, I would think, with being Carlos Hyde's skill set. So,
all right, Adamson 52, hi from England. Hello. Great content. Thank you. Do I start Davis or Swift, or play both and drop Keenan Allen or AJ Brown in the flex? Thanks, and very nice. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Hopefully you hit the thumbs up button before you get what you need here.
Hello from England. That's awesome. It's so crazy to see people watch this stuff from like around the world. So do I start Davis or Swift? I would go with Swift. I don't trust Davis this week, or play both and drop Keenan Allen or AJ Brown to the flex. I would not want to play both. I would just play Swift. I want AJ Brown and Keenan Allen in my lineup. AJ Brown has sucked. I don't know if you saw the tweet, but he literally tweeted out that one of his family members called him and said that he couldn't even catch COVID out there because of how bad he was playing, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I would go ahead and play Swift and then Keenan Allen and AJ Brown. Don't start Mike Davis in a majority of situations. I'd rather start Cordero Patterson over Mike Davis at this point. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, me neither. That's a tough scenario by all means. Oh, we just got another super chat in here. They're coming left and right. Look at that couple. They're popping up. Adjust the bands. Appreciate this. Full PPR pick 3. Sutton, Debo, Allen Robinson, Julio, and our buddy Rondale Moore. A lot of Rondale Moore love today. I love this.
Definitely. Everyone's got Rondale Moore on their team, apparently. So Sutton, Debo, Allen Robinson. Pick. Yeah, he is. I guess everyone listened the other week and picked him up. So that's very good. So Sutton, Debo, A-Rob, Julio, Rondale Moore. That's loaded right there, in my opinion.
Yes.
Allen Robinson's a guy that I really liked going into the season, but thus far, he just hasn't shown enough for me to really be super aggressive with him, especially this week with the first week of Fields. I'm definitely playing Sutton. I'm definitely playing Debo. And then because Sutton, I like his matchup, Debo with Ayuk in the doghouse, you just have to continue to ride with Debo, who's been excellent for fantasy. So then it's Julio or Rondale Moore. And my answer is Julio. Again, I really think he's in a good matchup this week. I think he's going to play good. I think the Tennessee Titans play good. So I expect Julio Jones to be very involved. And again, even though AJ Brown has been pretty shit, I expect him to play better, which in turn should actually help out Julio Jones if he's playing better.
Joe Mason on the super chat as well. Boyd. And we talked about Rondale Moore a lot with his situation in Arizona. I haven't really brought up Boyd and what's happening with his squad. So Boyd or Rondale Moore for the wide receiver 2 slot?
That's a great question. So without T. Higgins, Boyd elevates definitely, in my opinion. But the thing is, I still wouldn't elevate him over Rondale Moore. That's still a tough matchup on paper up against the Steelers defense. Realistically, though, they are two teams that are in the same division. The Bengals and the Steelers normally play very well against each other. I still like Boyd this week, but Rondale Moore to me is the clear answer. I'm going to continue to fire up Rondale Moore, like I keep saying, until he fails me. So this week he's going to go out there again, and I expect him to play quite well.
I love it, man. Rondale Moore is going to be the star of the show. All right, how about this? Another Rondale Moore question. It's the Rondale Moore show. Moore or Antonio Gibson? Bijan on the chat. Full PPR at the flex. Rondale Moore or Antonio Gibson, Nick Lepre?
Oh, I love that question. I'm going with, you know what? The thing with Antonio Gibson is I love Antonio Gibson, but I don't know what to think with J.D. McKissic. I really don't. I don't know what the usage is going to look like this week. That's why we talked about McKissic earlier. I kind of had to really think about it, have a conversation in my brain before I gave the answer. So here, we're going to go ahead and go Rondale Moore. I like Rondale Moore a lot. I like Gibson a lot. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think anyone should be panicking, running away, but still just be cautious and play Rondale Moore this week, who has a lot of upside. Seems like, I don't know why Rondale Moore is getting so much usage, but I like it. So keep on playing him.
Yeah, he's getting a ton of usage in the chat. That's for damn sure. Kathy Pine, Herbert or Stafford? How about that?
Great question. Great question.
You guys are slang it today. We anticipate at least, right?
Yeah, definitely. I like both of those guys a lot. I like Stafford a lot now. I don't know what your lean is on the Rams versus the Bucks. It seems like everyone's on the Rams right now. I like the Rams as well, but
I love Tampa because everybody. I saw a couple of nice trends about teams traveling 3 time zones. Sean McVay just shits the bed. He's 1-8 straight up and against the spread when he's trying to win his third. And look, I get it. It's a shootout, but I don't think Brady has played with even last year, right? And minus Antonio Brown, I get that. Gronk is back. I like the Bucks, man. I actually laid 1.5 on the road before it jumped down to 1. So I'm kind of locked into my play at least.
Yeah, the line moved a lot this week, so very surprising.
Yeah, it was at 0.5 point, I think, earlier, right? Rams were, I think, at 1 point favored, and then it switched over.
Yeah, very interesting. I would go definitely. I like Stafford a lot, but I would have to go with Herbert. I mean, again, he didn't play up to my liking last week. Didn't play up to everyone's liking because everyone expected that to be a really back and forth affair. But my lean here is going to be to play Justin Herbert. I like Herbert a lot this week up against the Chiefs. You just have to assume this is going to be a high scoring game. Herbert has played well thus far in his short career up against the Chiefs. So I assume he's going to do it again. And Mike Williams has looked really good for the Chargers. And that is very helpful for Herbert, considering Williams wasn't, I think his role just switched this year to be more involved, which really helps out Mr. Herbert.
The draft evaluator scolded me for taking Williams higher up in a round than I should have, but I knew he wasn't going to be there later. And look, I'm happy to get the last laugh across the board. He's definitely cooking by all means. So it's a great point there. And look, I think with just looking at the two offenses, even with Stafford, there's a good chance that they do try and run. There's a good chance that they do try and at least, and I know that they have a banged up back by all means in Henderson, but there's a chance that it's not going to be a shootout. The Chiefs, give up points. Like the Chiefs are giving up 30 plus each week. That's going to happen by all means. So I think you kind of have to default Herbert and probably other starter sits too, for that matter. Matchup probably more so than not, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Stafford and Herbert. Herbert is just such a big play this week that I feel like a lot of people are going to be a lot lower on this week. I expect him not to be very high owned on DFS because I assume he burned a lot of people last week, including myself. I was very high on him last week, and that Keenan Allen Herbert stack with Jared Cook didn't work out too well.
All right, Cody SB on the chat. Need one for flex. Shark, Singletary, or Murray half PPR. Oof.
Oh, Shark. I mean, what is up with this? The Jaguars. I mean, Marvin Jones is the only guy that you can genuinely trust. And all offseason, I was aggressive on Marvin Jones, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. I didn't expect it to be like, wow, you drafted Shenault in like the 8th round. I don't think you would ever want to play him. Shark, I definitely would rather play him over Shenault, but my lean would be, and I hate Devin Singletary, but he actually looks good this year to me. The issue with him is that Zach Moss is going to be involved and that Josh Allen at any point in the game could just hop over the line or mosey his way on into the end zone. The Washington football team defense, not as good as I personally thought they would be this year. So I'll play Singletary, but I don't love it. But again, those other options, it was very, very tough to decide. So.
All right, we have to remind you and also reinforce something here with what's going on in this Awesemo Everybody Wins contest. Also, Chris, who's producing here, has a trade that he was offered. So we're going to need some thoughts on that from you, and I'm sure the chat is going to weigh in. First and foremost, hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed here to the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. So our NFL Everyone Wins, it's the Awesemo special. Tell you about the 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum you get upon signing up as a first-time user. Then you need to put that $10 site credit to use. Well, we have an NFL Everyone Wins courtesy of us here on Awesemo. It's the special. Now, $10, we told you to get in. Here's the best part about it. After you pick players from all 13 games today, the top 815 are going to share a $7,500 prize pool, and the top 400 get at least your money back. So right now, based on where we are with numbers, we're still about a good 200 or so spots where you're guaranteed to at least get your money back. 200 spots from that filling up. So jump in now before you hit that number to where you start taking risk. But at least right now, your $10 investment is guaranteed to pay back until that number hits to a higher, of course. I'm just saying it right now. I don't want it to be, 1,000 people. Oh, he told me earlier, Nick, come on, man. No. Right now, as we speak, there are enough guaranteed spots where you'll get your $10 back. So jump in, take advantage of this. We're giving you as much information as you possibly can, taking into it from an all-encompassing account. I wanted to come back to Singletary really quick, though, because there was one that I saw regarding Singletary and your guy, Myles Gaskin. Any lean on that one between Gaskin or Singletary today?
Yeah, I don't like Gaskin today, but I definitely do like him more than Singletary because of that kind of risk that comes with Singletary. Gaskin, again, I don't expect the Dolphins to really be able to run in this game, but for some reason, every time I think the Dolphins are going to win, they lose. And every time I think they're going to lose, they're going to win. So I'm very confident that the Dolphins are going to lose by like 50 today. So they're probably going to end up winning. That's the John Gruden special, though, playing really good at the beginning of the season and then just completely choking everything away. So that is entirely possible. I would go with Gaskin. The best part about him, though, is that Jacoby Brissett isn't like someone who's not going to dump it off to him, and that's going to help out Gaskin a ton. So I would go with Gaskin over Singletary.
Sermon or Damian Harris at the RB2 full PPR. That was a great one.
That is a good one. Now, the thing with Damian Harris is that he's just safe. Like the problem with Damian Harris is that he's going to get a couple of targets, but he's never going to see like 6, 7, 8 targets in a game because James White is there, which hurts him. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't ever want to start Damian Harris, right? Because he's very reliable. He's like a condom you wrap around your lineup there. He's very safe. But Trey Sermon, he's very risky, But it is what it is. Sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. And in my opinion, I would risk it and play Trey Sermon.
Sermon is biscuit worthy, is what you're saying.
Very much. He's definitely worth it.
Okay. I like that. Look, nobody's going to confuse or conflate that analogy. It was crisp what you use. When you say that somebody's a condom around your lineup, I think we all understand exactly what you mean there. That's that sense of security versus the risk. But I love how you're going with there too. Death Wish 8. Pick 2, Debo, Evans, or Thielen. First time Evans really has come up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going with Debo and Evans. Now, the thing with Evans is
Over
I think
Thielen.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be nervous about Evans this week. Same thing with Godwin because, hey, Jalen Ramsey's out there. I understand, but Jalen Ramsey kind of sticks to one part of the field. So if Bruce Arians isn't an idiot, he's going to rotate them all around, right? It's not going to be just, hey, Jalen Ramsey versus Mike Evans the whole game. That would just be stupid, in my opinion. And I don't think Bruce Arians is that dumb to do that. So I think that I would probably be very comfortable playing Mike Evans this week. So I like Mike Evans. I like Debo Samuel, but Adam Thielen is definitely miles safer above Mike Evans, if that's the way you like to lean.
So if you just had one, Evans or Thielen, you would pick Evans clearly in that too, because you had that choice. But how wide is the gap? Or is it really just a matter of risk, similar to our last question, where you're just going off the risk?
No, I'm not necessarily going off the risk. They're very close, I would say. They're probably around 2 to 3 ranking spots between each other. I always put Godwin and Evans back to back in my rankings because to me, it seems like either of them could have a really big game, and they're just always by each other. Same thing with Antonio Brown. If he's playing, they're all there. It's a triplet right there together. But I like Evans a lot this week. But the reason why I like him slightly more than Thielen is because there's a better chance that Evans scores a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns, because I really do believe this game is going to be very high scoring between the two. I like Thielen, but I think Justin Jefferson is finally going to have that really decisive game, and maybe that's this week.
Question on the chat regarding Monday night, but it's going to impact what somebody does today. Mark G on the chat, should I start Miles Sanders with his chest injury?
Oof. Yeah, I'm still fine playing Miles Sanders unless that something comes out that seems like he's not going to play, which I haven't seen thus far. I'm perfectly fine playing him. So
he did practice Friday. Here's the thing. I would need to know who else you have, right? Because if we're talking about somebody that you look at, Nick, how you've ranked the position and it's negligible, the difference, then they don't have Jordan Mailata, their left tackle. They're a little banged up. Brandon Brooks, their starting right guard, is out too. If you had a pivot that wasn't even like a step back or a half a step back and the chest injury, you know what I mean? There's just a bunch of things piled on to Miles Sanders. But, I mean, if you're talking about Carlos Hyde versus Miles Sanders, then, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't move anything away from Sanders. But I would be interested to see how wide the gap is between somebody else and Sanders. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, Sanders also, though, the Dallas defense is just so bad that you would have to assume that even if he's not 100%, that he's still going to play quite well.
Yeah, I'm concerned that Kenny Gainwell takes catches away from him, actually, more so than anything. Because you're right. Like, I don't think he'll take rushes away from Sanders, but there is this insistence to work Kenny Gainwell in the 2-minute drill, in some third down passing scenarios, and just to take Sanders out for like random drives, which didn't really make much sense to me.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
It's not, look, I again, it goes back to, this is a no-brainer. You start Sanders. I was just curious to see if there was somebody like in that realm to which we didn't have the benefit of it. Soul Dope. Good to see Soul Dope. 1234 on the super chat. Nick, full PPR, Shepard or Kyle Pitts in the flex spot?
Oh, all right. Pitts is playing up against the Giants. The Giants are so bad up against the tight end, but Shepard is also been on fire. And typically in most situations, I don't look to start a tight end at the flex. Now, there are situations, obviously, where you can. If you have Kelsey and Waller for some reason, you're just trying to steal all the tight ends from everyone else. But in most situations, the tight end, he goes in the tight end spot. The running back, the receiver, they're going in the flex. So Sterling Shepard up against the Falcons defense, even though realistically Sterling Shepard should not be in the role he's in that role. You have to just accept it at this point. Kenny Golladay, while I think he's a better receiver than Sterling Shepard, just isn't getting that usage just yet. He's chirping Jason Garrett on the sideline. I'm leaning with Sterling Shepard very heavily over Pitts.
All right, this is the trade that Chris got offered, and it's predicated on Cook and Henderson both being out for his team. That's his backfield right there. So Chris has to make moves, right? We got to help Chris out. He's giving up Chase Claypool for Tim Patrick and Melvin Gordon. Now, reminder, he doesn't have Cook. He doesn't have Henderson. He needs help in the backfield. Are you giving up Chase Claypool, for Tim Patrick and Melvin Gordon?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think Deontay Johnson's timetable is 2-3 weeks out at this point. Johnson's the clear receiver one there. Patrick, what is he worth in reality? Like, not that much, right? He's like a touchdown hope. I mean, he's still a solid play week in and week out, but he's not a guy that's like, holy shit, I have Tim Patrick on my team. So I would do it. I mean, if Melvin Gordon is one Javonte Williams injury away from being a top 10 back every week, top 12 back every single week. So I would probably do that trade, especially since, like, if you really need to win this week, it really depends also. Like, if you're 2-0 right now, maybe you don't want to do the trade. But if you're 0-2, then you're kind of more in a dire situation. Then I would definitely do it regardless. But I think the situation you're in, based upon how many wins or losses you have, really changes my opinion on trading.
Yeah, and Melvin Gordon, I think, is a big part of that too, right? Where you're talking about what you're getting back as opposed to the risk. Even if Deontay Johnson does come back in 2 weeks, then you're still looking at what you got back. David Berry on the super chat here for you, Nick. Half PPR flex position. James Robinson, Mike Davis, Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams. Wow.
Oof, that is a tough one. That is tough. So James Robinson, Mike Davis,
should be
Tony
James
Pollard.
Robinson, right? Like, this should be a no-brainer, right? Which would be James Robinson, but we can't go that way, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Davis, I don't think we can go that way. I
no.
Like Tony Pollard, he's fine. Like, the thing though with Javonte Williams is you're really hinging on him scoring the touchdown. If he doesn't score the touchdown, then you're going to be so pissed off because he probably will have 60, 70 yards, maybe a catch or two. To be honest, I think I would just play James Robinson and just pray to the fantasy lords that for some reason Urban Meyer watched some tape and was like, wow, this James Robinson guy's pretty good.
Maybe somebody went up to him and was like, hey, you know, you got this guy on the team, right? You want to take a look at what he could do? Or
yeah, maybe one of his friends.
Urban?
Yeah, it would shock me if Urban actually figured it out. And I was going to say, maybe one of Urban's friends walked up to him and was like, hey, you know, this James Robinson guy on your team's pretty good, right? And he's like, oh, shit, really?
Wait, we got him? Oh, shit, I didn't know that.
I only know about Carlos Hyde. Yeah, keep going.
Exactly, right? I just thought we had one running back. From _Fresno, Jones Jr., Sermon, or Allen Robinson, flex full PPR on the super chat. And thank you for that.
Great question. Jones Jr., Sermon, Allen Robinson. I would go Great donation, by the way. Donating $4.20. Very funny. So Sermon, Allen Robinson, Jones. I would go with Sermon. I like Marvin Jones because he's the clear receiver one there, but I don't like him that much. I also like Allen Robinson, but I don't trust him this week. So my lean would be to play Trey Sermon.
Sermon over Davis, Mike Davis?
Yeah, definitely. I don't trust Mike Davis.
Mike Davis is out, right? I mean, officially at this point.
Well, he's in the game, but he's out of my heart.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not a guy I'm looking to play.
No, by no means. All right, Steve Smith on the chat. Need 2 flex PPR. Kittle, A.J. Brown, Sterling Shepard, Jamar Chase, Tyson Williams, or Kareem Hunt.
All right. Who said that again?
Tyson Williams. Yeah, Tyson Williams, Kareem Hunt, Jamar Chase. Really, I mean, A.J. Brown. Let's whittle this down here, right? We'll take Kittle out for a second. And we'll put A.J. Brown, Sterling Shepard, or Jamar Chase. How about those 3?
Okay. I would play A.J. Brown and then Sterling Shepard, then Jamar Chase. That would be my order, just as you read it off.
Okay, yeah, that's best way to put it right there. Sterling Shepard or Rondale Moore. I couldn't help it. I saw another Rondale Moore. I wanted to get at least another Rondale Moore question in here before we got out of here. It just felt right.
I would go, that's really close. I would go with Sterling Shepard, but ever so slightly. I mean, I just really think that Shepard is clearly the receiver one, whereas Rondale Moore, he's just not. He's not the receiver one on the team. D-Hop clearly is.
Take full advantage. Again, we're going to tell you one more time about what's happening here with Yahoo. Just hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribed to the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. The new deal that we have here for all new users, you're going to get 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up with Yahoo, your first paid contest entry with your first deposit, and then you're going to get $10 in site credit, amongst other things that you can benefit from on Yahoo. And then we have our own Everyone Wins Yahoo Fantasy DFS tournament that you can pop in here. And as we've been telling you, the top 815 are going to share a $7,500 prize pool, and first place is going to take home $200. Top 400 get at least your money back. So those odds are pretty good when you look at this. It doesn't have to fill in order to run. So where we are with numbers right now, you stand a pretty good chance to, at the very least, get your entry back, if not more, and grow from that. All right, man, let's look a couple more as we get out of here. Mattison, Montgomery, Gibson, half PPR. Daniel's asking to pick 2. Why don't you just give us what you think is your rank for those 3?
It would be Mixon, Montgomery, and then Mattison. Again, I don't love Mixon's matchup, but I still believe he gets fed the ball enough to where you're going to want to start him, especially since with Giovanni Bernard gone, he has been getting a lot more receptions, which really helps him out.
Emo, producer on the chat. Thielen or McLaurin?
Oof.
Can't start them both.
I'd go McLaurin, even up against the Bills. McLaurin has just been, I mean, with Heineke, he's looked better, which is shocking with Heineke over Fitzpatrick. But yeah, I'd go with McLaurin. Even though Thielen's in the better matchup, I just think McLaurin is just going to be fed.
And then a lot of people dealing with running back situations without Cook here. Randall, the latest. Melvin Gordon or Leonard Fournette? Fournette is getting the start for what that's worth.
I don't think I'll ever play a Tampa Bay running back, so you're going to have to go with Melvin Gordon.
All right, last one here, too. PPR, Hines or Michelle, especially with Henderson looming.
Hines or Michelle. I'm going
PPR, by the way.
I'm going to go
Not
Hines.
That matters for Michelle.
I'm going to go Hines, yeah, but I don't like
because
either
of the pass catching?
Yeah, but I don't like either this week.
Yes, that's fair. Look, you don't have to like either. There's no rule that you have to like by any means. Raid 5280. We appreciate that. The super chat. All right, we appreciate everybody here hanging with us. We'll be back again next Sunday morning, just before noon, quarter of, get you ready Eastern time for all of the questions, your start sits that we can. We appreciate you on the super chat as well. Thanks to Chris for producing. Thanks to Yahoo for providing some awesome opportunities for you to win some money. And yes, thanks to Nick. Follow him on Twitter at Notorious FNTSY at Shander Show for me. Have a great day and good luck.
Bye, guys.